It's inevitable. The world is running at full speed, and the global recession of a lifetime is coming toward us. Until we collide, and the impact will be brutal. Have you ever wondered what would really happen if the entire world slowed down at once? If every country, every company, every market began to lose energy together, as if someone had quietly pulled the plug from a machine that had been running non-stop for decades? Because that moment, the one economists only whisper about behind closed doors, may be closer than anyone dares to admit. And it has a name already forming on the lips of analysts and insiders alike, a name that will soon become part of history: the Global Recession of 2026. Or even better, the Global Recession of the first months of 2026. It's really scaring, and believe me, I'm really scared too. But I'm already acting, as you should do too. So stay until the end to understand how to prepare, leave a like, and let's start. Every major downturn has always begun quietly, without sirens or panic, often with calm words spoken on television screens about temporary slowdowns or minor corrections. While underneath, something much deeper starts to shift. You see, economies don't crash all at once, so they fade first. People spend a little less, companies delay a few investments, governments make one or two mistakes too many, and by the time the public realises what's happening, the wheels are already turning towards something that no one can stop. We are standing today at the edge of a pattern that has repeated for over a century. A cycle of excess followed by contraction, of confidence followed by fear. And this time the signs are stronger than ever before. The global economy, after years of artificial stimulation, endless printing of money, and debt levels that defy logic, is now reaching its limit. Growth has become dependent on illusion, and illusions always end the same way. They vanish. The strange thing is that most people can feel it even if they can't explain it. Prices are rising, but wages are not. Governments are spending more but solving less. Businesses are celebrating record profits while quietly laying off workers. Central banks say inflation is under control, yet every trip to the supermarket feels heavier. Beneath all this, there's a quiet anxiety spreading, the kind that precedes something much larger. History has shown us that global recessions are never caused by one event. They are the result of many small cracks forming at the same time, each one manageable on its own, but together, unstoppable. And now, in the middle of the decade, all those cracks are lining up. Start with debt, the invisible fuel that keeps modern life going. Governments across the world have borrowed more money than ever before, not to build or to invest, but simply to survive. After decades of spending beyond their means, they are now trapped. The interest on that debt grows faster than their economies can produce income, which means even as they collect more in taxes, most of it goes not to schools or hospitals, but to pay the interest on yesterday's promises. In 2008, the world faced a banking crisis. In 2026, the danger will be different. This time, it's not the banks that are too big to fail, it's the governments themselves. And here lies the terrifying truth. No one can bail out a government. When a bank fails, a central bank can print money. But when entire nations become insolvent, when the very issuers of money lose credibility, there is no one left to save them. That's the wall we are now approaching, and it is much closer than politicians want you to believe. While debt builds in silence, another force is reshaping everything we thought we knew about work, value, and productivity. Technology, which promised to make life easier, has instead made it faster, colder, and far more fragile. Artificial intelligence and automation are replacing millions of jobs that once gave people purpose and income. And though at first it seems like progress, higher profits, cheaper services, it soon becomes clear that when machines replace people, economies lose their consumers. If people aren't earning, they aren't spending. And when spending stops, growth dies. Just a little break, I opened a free Telegram community where I teach how to earn money with YouTube and build channels like the one you're watching. If you want to understand how to do it, there's the link below. Back to before. In the past, new industries would emerge to absorb displaced workers, but this time, the speed of change is beyond human adjustment. A company can now replace an entire department overnight with an algorithm that never sleeps and never asks for a raise. And as this spreads, governments find themselves facing a new kind of unemployment crisis. Not the temporary kind, but structural, permanent, built into the design of the system itself. At the same time, the geopolitical landscape is becoming more unstable. The wars and tensions that once felt far away are now beginning to affect trade, resources, and alliances. Energy costs fluctuate wildly as nations compete for supply, and new conflicts emerge in regions that used to guarantee stability. When you combine financial fragility with political chaos, you get the kind of volatility that no market can absorb for long. By the time 2026 arrives, this perfect storm, debt, automation, energy, and politics, will have merged into one global force. Economies that have spent years pretending their problems didn't exist will suddenly face them all at once. Growth projections will be revised downward. Stock markets will wobble, then plunge. Real estate, which for years seemed untouchable, will begin to fall. Families who believed their homes were their safety nets will see their value evaporate. Corporations will panic, freezing hiring, cutting costs, pulling back investments. And what began as numbers on a spreadsheet will quickly turn into something that feels personal. Job losses, unpaid bills, vanished savings. But what makes this recession different is not just its size, it's the psychology behind it. The modern economy runs not only on capital, but on confidence. It depends on belief. Belief that tomorrow will be better, that money printed today will have value tomorrow, that growth is endless. When people stop believing, when that silent faith breaks, everything collapses faster than any policy can repair. And that loss of faith is already happening. Across continents, people no longer trust their leaders, their media, or even their currencies. Each crisis, the financial crash, the pandemic, the wars, has eroded a little more of that trust, leaving behind a population that feels uncertain and divided. And when fear replaces trust, spending stops, investing stops, lending stops. It's not just economics, it's human behaviour. When people lose faith in the future itself begins to shrink. Some will say that central banks will simply step in again, that they will print more money as they always have, that governments will borrow more, and somehow we will recover, as we always do. But printing money doesn't create value, it only delays pain. It's like giving a patient morphine while the disease spreads. It buys time, but not recovery. And after years of such measures, the medicine no longer works. The system is immune to its own rescue plan. Others believe that technology will save us, that AI and automation will usher in a new golden age of efficiency and abundance. But technology is neutral. It reflects us. If it's built in a system driven by greed and inequality, it will amplify those same flaws. Artificial intelligence won't fix the economy. It will accelerate the divide between those who own it and those who serve it. And that divide will become one of the defining forces of the 2026 recession. A world where wealth becomes more concentrated than ever before, while billions of people watch opportunity vanish before their eyes. And yet, the most dangerous part is not financial or technological, it's emotional. Because when fear spreads faster than information, societies begin to turn inward. Populism rises, authoritarianism strengthens, and nations begin to look for enemies, both inside and outside their borders. History tells us that economic collapse often precedes political collapse. And when that happens, the damage doesn't stop at money. It tears at the very idea of cooperation and peace. We are already seeing the first signs: the return of trade wars, the militarization of rhetoric, the normalization of surveillance in the name of stability. In times of plenty, democracy flourishes. In times of fear, control replaces freedom. And as economies weaken, control is exactly what leaders will reach for. Digital currencies, tighter restrictions, laws to suppress dissent, all presented as necessary measures. The recession of 2026 will not just be economic, it will be cultural and political, reshaping how societies function for decades to come. But even as this darkness spreads, it's important to see the larger picture. Every collapse in history, no matter how devastating, eventually clears the path for renewal. The Great Depression gave rise to new systems of social support. The crisis of the 1970s forced innovation in technology and energy. The crash of 2008 created a new awareness of financial risk, even if we ignored it later. And the recession of 2026 may do something similar. It may force humanity to confront its illusions about endless growth, to rediscover the value of sustainability, balance, and real productivity. The tragedy is that it will take pain to get there. It always does. because societies rarely change willingly when things seem to work, even if they only work on the surface. They change when they are forced to, and by 2026, the world will be forced to face the truth that it cannot live forever on borrowed time. For the ordinary person, this might sound distant, but it isn't. It will show up in small ways first. A job harder to find, a loan harder to get, a store quietly closing, a bill arriving higher than before. It will creep into daily life until one day you realise it's everywhere. The headlines will speak of adjustments and temporary contractions, but beneath those words will be a silent reality. The era of easy money is over, but one way to protect yourself is to open a YouTube channel, because it's a business that will never fail in a recession. So let's give it a try clicking on the link below. There will be moments of panic, moments of denial, and finally moments of acceptance. And when that happens, the world will have a choice. We can either fight to rebuild the same fragile system that brought us here, or we can start something different. An economy that values resilience over speed, balance over profit, people over numbers. It's hard to imagine now, but every great transformation in history has begun in crisis. From the ashes of every collapse came something new, often better, though never immediately. The Global Recession of 2026 will be no exception. It will shake the foundations of what we believe about money, power, and progress, but it will also reveal what was false all along. The idea that we could grow forever without consequences, that debt could replace productivity, that technology could replace wisdom. So as we move closer to that moment, the most important thing isn't to panic, but to understand, to see the signs not as the end, but as a turning point. Because when illusions die, truth becomes visible. And only from truth can real growth begin again. Maybe that's the strange mercy hidden inside what's coming. Maybe this great slowdown is not the end of the world, but the end of the illusion that the world could keep expanding forever. Maybe it's a reminder that nothing in nature grows without rest, and that even the global economy, vast as it is, needs to breathe. And when 2026 arrives, and the world finally exhales, perhaps we'll look back and realise that the collapse was never just about markets or money. It was about us and our choices, our greed, our blindness, and ultimately our awakening. Because sometimes systems fall not to destroy, but to force us to see. And once we see clearly, everything can begin again. Smash that subscribe and like button. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. And I also want to remind you that if you want to build a YouTube channel, like the one you're watching now, and make money from it, I opened a free Telegram community with the link below. See you there, or in the next video. Just a reminder, I'm not a financial advisor. This video is for educational purposes only, and any results depend on your own decisions and actions.